Imagine being 17 years old, the year is 1968. The Vietnam War draft is breathing down your neck, and you decide the absolute best way out of the madness is to dress up as a fake Orthodox priest.
Wait, what? A fake priest? How does that even work? Did he just buy a collar at a costume shop?
It was a lot more elaborate than that. This kid, Peter, and his friend actually acquired authentic-looking vestments, and it worked too well. Keep in mind, this was June 1968, right after Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated. The nation was on edge. Peter and his buddy literally talked their way past the Secret Service, bypassed the NYPD, and snuck right into Bobby Kennedy's highly secured funeral at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York. They were sitting just rows away from the President of the United States.
That's insane. If they got caught doing that today, or even then, they'd be tossed in a dark room forever. The security must have been sweating bullets.
Exactly, but this teenage stunt accidentally dropped Peter into an underground world he never really escaped from. While playing dress up and trying to legitimize his priesthood to avoid the draft, he stumbled into actual operational fake churches in New York and New Orleans. We're talking fully funded, tax-exempt churches with bishops, titles, and zero actual followers. They were secretly run by the alphabet agencies, specifically the CIA and FBI for intelligence operations. They called them wandering bishops.
You mean the government was running fake religious institutions as cover operations? For what? Money laundering? Spies?
Spies, safe houses, and moving untraceable assets. And it gets crazier because the people running these religious fronts, they were the exact same guys involved in the earliest UFO sightings in 1947, and later deeply tied to the tragic JFK assassination.
No way! You're jumping from fake priests to UFOs and JFK? How are those even connected?
By the exact same intelligence agents. Guys like David Ferry, who actually operated as a fake bishop in one of these old Catholic churches, and his boss, Guy Bannister, an ex-FBI agent running a shadowy detective agency out of New Orleans. Then you have Fred Chrisman. Chrisman was a key figure in the 1947 Maury Island incident, one of the first recorded UFO sightings where flying saucer debris allegedly fell from the sky. A decade later, Jim Garrison subpoenas these exact same guys for conspiring to assassinate JFK.
That is absolutely wild. It's like a giant web where the same 5 guys are orchestrating all the major weird history of the 20th century.
It is, but that wasn't the whole story, because while Peter was uncovering these alphabet agency secrets, he also dove into the darkest files of the notorious 1940s German faction, the Nazis, and he found out they weren't just building rockets and tanks.
What else were they doing? I know they had weird science divisions, but what did Peter find?
They were obsessed with the occult. Peter found declassified documents proving that Heinrich Himmler created a massive department called the Ahnenerbe. In 1938, they sent elite, fully funded SS expeditions to Tibet. They weren't looking for strategic military outposts. They were looking for ancient runes, lost magic, and biological proof that they were descended from a godlike master race. They were measuring the skulls of Tibetan monks to try and find a link to the lost city of Atlantis.
Like real-life movie villains? That sounds exactly like the plot of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Exactly. George Lucas didn't make that up. Pulled it from actual history. They were actively trying to weaponize ancient myths, but what they did after the war when the regime collapsed, that's the part that really messes with your head.
Yeah, that's the standard history lesson. We've all heard the story that the infamous dictator offed himself in a bunker in 1945, or the conspiracy that he escaped to Argentina in a U-boat. What's the catch?
Peter tracked down a totally different, fully documented ratline. Forget Argentina. What if he escaped to a remote volcanic island in Indonesia?
Indonesia? Nobody ever looks there. Why would he go to the Pacific?
Exactly. It's the perfect blind spot. Peter traveled there and found out about a mysterious German doctor named Dr. Georg Anton Pock, who suddenly appeared and lived in complete isolation on the island of Sumbawa. He claimed to be an Austrian medic. But Peter found his diary, and it was written in a highly specific, incredibly rare shorthand. It was the exact same obscure shorthand used by the dictator's inner circle back in Berlin.
You've got to be kidding me. You think it was really him? Just practicing medicine in the jungle?
The local Indonesian authorities absolutely believed it. The mayor of Surabaya was convinced. When this man finally passed away, his grave was mysteriously marked. People from Europe, wealthy industrialists with dark ties, would travel all the way to this remote Indonesian cemetery just to quietly pay their respects.
That is terrifying to think about, that the most evil man in history just got to live out his days on a tropical island. That's a massive failure by global intelligence. Or maybe it was on purpose.
That's a real question, isn't it? Did we let him go in exchange for technology? And speaking of hiding in plain sight with government protection, Peter actually traveled to Chile in 1979 during the height of the brutal Pinochet dictatorship to investigate a place called Colonia Dignidad.
I've heard of that. Wasn't that a secret secretive German agricultural colony up in the Andes Mountains?
Agricultural colony was their cover. In reality, it was a heavily armed fortress run by a sadistic escaped Nazi medic named Paul Schaefer. Behind barbed wire, they were running a cult, hoarding illegal weapons, and acting as a secret torture center for the Chilean secret police. Peter went there during strict military martial law, rented a car, drove up to the perimeter, and took out his camera. Suddenly, his car was boxed in by a mysterious, blacked-out Mercedes.
Oh man, my heart would be pounding out of my chest. You are literally in a lawless dictatorship outside.
Two massive, military-trained guards stepped out. Then, a guy in a pristine white lab coat walked up, tapped on the glass of Peter's rental car, and literally said, in a thick German accent,
Like straight out of a terrifying World War II movie. How did he not get dragged inside?
He played the dumb American tourist card, but they didn't buy it. He did get out, but the very next day his hotel room was tossed. The authorities told him he was no longer welcome in the entire country of Chile, and the military actually boarded his bus at the border to make sure he physically crossed over into Argentina.
They had that much power? They could just order the Chilean military to deport an American citizen?
They controlled everything. They were deeply embedded with intelligence agencies. But that wasn't the whole story.
I don't know how much more of this I can take. What else is there?
So we've got fake churches, escaped villains, and secret colonies. But let's pivot to the weirdest intelligence operation of all. Jump back to New Year's Eve, 1952. A group of American elites, top scientists, and military intelligence officers gather in a remote cabin in Maine for a seance.
A seance? Like with a medium, a crystal ball, and candles? What is the military doing at a seance?
Yep. It was organized by a man named Andrzej Puharek, a medical doctor who eventually worked for the CIA, but they weren't talking to ghosts or dead relatives. Through a medium named Dr. Vinod, they were channeling entities from deep space who called themselves the Nine.
Wait, military intelligence was trying to talk to aliens through a psychic medium?
Yes, and Arthur Young, the guy who invented the Bell helicopter, was sitting right there. They literally transcribed the entire thing. The entities spoke through the medium and told them, "We are nine, you are nine, and together we are going to change the course of human history."
That sounds like a sci-fi cult. You're telling me the guys building our helicopters and running our spy agencies believed this?
It gets weirder. Puharek later brought the famous psychic Uri Geller to America to be tested by the CIA. This directly led to the creation of the infamous Stargate project, where the US government spent millions of dollars over decades at the Stanford Research Institute on psychic spying, remote viewing, and trying to leave their bodies to spy on Russian missile silos.
So this wasn't just a parlor trick for rich weirdos. The government took it completely seriously as a weapon.
Dead seriously. They were trying to access a hidden consciousness. And when you look into this stuff as long and as intensely as Peter did, the phenomenon starts looking back at you.
What do you mean? Like he was being watched by the government or by ... something else?
Both. Peter started experiencing classic Men in Black encounters. The real kind, not the Will Smith movie. One time he was staying in a tiny, obscure town. He walks outside and two bizarre women dressed in severely outdated 1950s clothing are blocking his driveway. They had no car. They just walked up, asked him a highly cryptic, threatening question about a specific classified aerospace company he'd been investigating, and then basically walked off and vanished.
That is so creepy. It's like glitch in the Matrix stuff. It feels completely unnatural.
It is, but flash forward a full decade later, Peter is dragging his suitcase through the incredibly crowded Changi airport in Singapore. He is totally exhausted, half asleep. Suddenly, he feels a sharp tap on his shoulder.
Don't tell me.
He turns around, and it's the exact same woman from his driveway 10 years ago. She hasn't aged a day. She is still wearing the exact same outdated 1950s clothes. She just smiles a cold smile, waves at him, and vanishes into the sea of travelers.
No, come on. That's not a coincidence. That is a straight-up message. They are telling him, we know exactly where you are, anywhere on the globe, at any time.
It absolutely was a message of intimidation, but that wasn't the whole story.
Okay, lay it on me. Wrap all of this up. How does the UFO stuff, the Nazis, the fake priests, and the psychics all connect?
After 50 years of researching all of this, the alphabet agencies, the UFOs, the secret societies, Occult Peter came to a mind-bending conclusion about the entire timeline of human history.
I'm strapped in. What's the grand theory?
He calls it the cargo cult theory. Imagine a remote island tribe in the Pacific during World War II. They've lived the same way for thousands of years. Suddenly, a giant metal airplane lands. Soldiers step out, drop off incredible treasures, radios, canned food, medicine, flashlights, and then the war ends and and they leave.
Right. The tribe doesn't understand the technology. They would think these soldiers were literal gods falling from the sky.
Exactly. And after the soldiers left, these tribes literally built fake airstrips out of bamboo. They carved wooden headsets, sat in control towers made of vines, and lit fires on the runway, praying for the sky gods to return with more cargo. Peter believes all of human civilization is just one massive cargo cult.
Wait, you're saying we are the island tribe?
Think about it. For 200,000 years, anatomically modern humans were just happy hunter-gatherers. We barely changed. Then suddenly, in a tiny blink of geological time, across the globe in places that had no contact with each other, Sumeria, Egypt, Mesoamerica, we started building massive stone temples aligned perfectly with the stars.
Why would we suddenly care about tracking the exact movements of Sirius and Orion if we just needed to hunt deer and survive the winter?
Because someone or something came down and told us to. They dropped off the cargo of civilization, mathematics, and agriculture, and then they left. Our entire push for technology, for space travel, for extending our lifespans, it's all driven by a deep, ancient, almost genetic instinct to go back to the stars, to build a big enough runway to reconnect with whoever visited us first.
That is a terrifying but incredibly beautiful thought. All our religions, our temples, our space programs, we're just islanders waiting for the planes to come back.
Exactly, and all the UFO sightings today, the Tic Tacs the Navy is seeing, they aren't just advanced tech or little green men. It's the phenomenon checking in on our progress. They are the sky gods flying over the island, forcing us to pay attention, to evolve, and to wake up.
Man, that completely changes how I look at history. The Nazis looking for ancient magic, the CIA trying to talk to space entities, the fake churches hiding secrets. It's all just different groups trying to get their hands on the sky god's cargo.
It is. The real history of humanity isn't written in high school textbooks. It's hidden in classified intelligence files, remote jungles, and the deepest, most unexplored parts of our own consciousness.
I genuinely need to go lie down and process this. I'll never look at a church, an airplane, or the stars the same way again. What a wild ride.